بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين.
Last halaqah we took an introduction about the book and a brief biography about the author and some issues pertaining to talab al-ilm. And there's plenty of other matters that pertain to talab al-ilm we should go over. Some we mentioned in previous series, but some need to be addressed really in an independent series by itself. Many neglect the spiritual aspect in talab al-ilm. For example, one must ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala consistently to grant him beneficial ilm and sincerity. وَقُلْ رَبِّ زِدْنِي عِلْمًا. Ibn Hajar rahimahullah ta'ala said Allah didn't order the messenger to make dua for anything specific of the matters of the dunya other than gaining knowledge. The more one learns, the more one should thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just like when Allah grants you wealth, you thank Allah and He gives you more. The same with knowledge. Some of the old-time imams said we didn't reach the status we reached except by thanking Allah every time we learn something. We thank Allah for knowledge attained, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us more. Knowledge is among the biggest ni'am one must thank Allah for. The person's being honored by being entrusted with the deen of Allah. And when sincere with that, it's a sign that he or she are special. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala selected them. مَنْ يُرِدِ اللَّهُ بِهِ خَيْرًا يُفَقِّهُ فِي الدِّينِ. When Allah wishes good for someone, He will bestow upon them the comprehension of the deen. Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah said, كل من أراد الله به خيرا لابد أن يفقهه في الدين فمن لم يفقهه في الدين لم يرد الله به خيرا. Everyone who Allah wants good in, He will bestow knowledge upon him, and if He doesn't bestow knowledge upon him, then He doesn't wish good for him. And Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala said, knowledge is the leader to the taqwa of Allah. Among the most wise time spent is the time spent in talab al-ilm. Look at those who left behind their hometowns and even their continents. They left their family and their wealth. They left their comfort and luxury to learn a few hadith or sometimes one hadith. And now it's in someone's pocket and he turns away from it. One should be patient in learning and not rush into it or take it to an extreme, especially when starting. The ulama studied for years upon years. Some want to rush and finish a book. We didn't even start this book, and some are already asking how long it'll take to finish the book. And that's because they're eager طلاب العلم. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward them. The book can be finished in less than a one-day seminar. One full day seminar, the full book can be completed. Al-Usul al-Thalatha that we studied could have been finished in a road trip, and we actually did do it one time in a road trip. But there's a difference between one type of finishing and another. These classes are made to target the physical and virtual followers, yes, but also beyond that, with the foresight of the descendants and generations who may come and read and listen or watch it bi'idhnillahi ta'ala until Yawm al-Deen. And that is why I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if I ever say a word or a lecture or a talk that is not in complete accordance to the Quran and the Sunnah, ask Allah al-Hayy al-Qayyum to submerge it and never let it emerge. And if it has emerged and spread, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bury it to no return. Some dear brothers were somewhat frustrated at the pace that we had going on Al-Usul al-Thalatha, because they were eager and they wanted to move on to more advanced books. You do remember what I said. I said it's better to go in detail and lay down a strong foundation and raise a generation covering this matter thoroughly, rather than speed it up and take several books and just say we covered 5 or 6 books. In fact, the concepts and matters that were studied in Usul al-Thalatha was a summary of way more than 5 books. And by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the consequence is that it had raised firm muwahhideen and muwahhidat who I'm truly proud of. And Allah is my witness, it is only from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our resources are less than one can imagine. But the pure tawheed intertwined with pure hearts and raised pure muwahhideen and muwahhidat. And as the young Jahili poet said, ستبدي لك الأيام ما كنت جاهلا ويأتيك بالأخبار من لم تزودي. The days will reveal what's hidden and you don't know, and the news will come from ways you didn't perceive it. They say Abdullah ibn Wahb, the Imam, the Muhaddith, he studied with Imam Malik for more than 20 years, never departed his side. That's why you read in history, we were with our Shaykh so-and-so when he gave his clothes to a poor person that asked him. We returned from this place. We attended this place. They were inseparable from the shadow of their ulama for long periods of time. When that doesn't happen, you sadly see those who learn a few matters of fiqh, a few haram and halals, they think they're the Imam Maliks of this era. Or a few ilal of hadith, or the different methodologies of hadith, and they think that they're the Yahya ibn Ma'ins of this era. And no one else knew it before them, and no one knows it like them, and no one will grasp it after them. The demeanor at least depicts that. Or a few aspects on Iman and Kufr, and suddenly they're the Ibn Taymiyyahs and Ibn Hanbals of this time. We gave a little boy recently some toys, and among them was that classical vintage Raka stack toy. It's that famous ring stacking toy that's been made for years and years, and they never stopped making it. The baby became overwhelmed with that specific toy, and he chose it over all the other toys. I told the baby's father, when you were a young boy, we bought you that exact same toy, and by Allah, I had that same toy when I was a child myself, I remember it. From the excitement on the baby's face, if he could speak, he would say, this is mine and only mine. No one had it before me, no one will have it after me. It was made for me and only me. And that's how some act when they grasp on certain aspects of knowledge because of the lack of upbringing. Al-Shafi'i rahimahullah ta'ala said, لما أدبني الدهر أراني نقص عقلي وكلما ازددت علما زادني علما بجهلي وكلما ازددت علما, the more I gain knowledge, the more it makes me realize how ignorant I am. وكلما ازددت علما زادني علما بجهلي. In a recent private halaqah with some dear beloved brothers, we were going over portions of the works of Imam Muhammad al-Amin al-Shanqiti rahimahullah ta'ala, and we went over the fact that al-Shanqiti, who is a direct teacher, a sheikh of my shuyukh, towards the end of his life, he reclined back and stopped giving fatwas. And when pressured, he would quote ulama rather than give his own fatwa. Usually, as time goes by and one is steady in learning and teaching, they progress and excel in ilm, especially when you're consistent in researching and in teaching as he was. The thing about it though, is when you excel in beneficial ilm, you also excel in the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and humility to Allah. And it reached a point with him where he no longer felt he was at the status of giving fatwa, when he in fact was really one of the biggest imams of this century. Being with ulama, especially ulama of haqq, humbles one no matter how much he learns. And you see a difference in the demeanor and knowledge of one who gets his ilm with ulama and ulama of haqq, and one who doesn't. And sometimes, of course, especially nowadays, as deviance is spreading among the ulama, it's very difficult to find alim of haqq to take from. If the ilm you're gaining is not gaining you more fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and humility to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and then to His creations, then something is seriously wrong. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, إِنَّمَا يَخْشَى اللَّهَ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ الْعُلَمَاءِ. Ibn Mas'ud said knowledge isn't about gaining a lot of ahadith, it's about fearing Allah. And Imam Malik rahimahullah has a very, very similar quote. Imam Ibn Abd al-Barr related that Umar ibn Abd al-Rahman said, we learned Imam Malik's Muwatta with him in 40 days. His famous compilation of hadith, we learned it in 40 days. And he said, Imam Malik said when they were done, a book that took me 40 years to write, took you 40 days to learn. And some said it even took him 60 years to compile. He was implying one should go at a slower pace and letting them know the value and amount of ilm they got in that short time. There's much more on talab al-ilm that needs to be addressed in a nice long series, but I wanted to address specifically the issue of the pace, and some are already asking when we'll finish, and I don't think we'll be going slow. It'll depend really on the feedback and level that I see. I like to be comprehensive on any topic we fully go over because our lives are very short and our da'wah is always interrupted. The foundation I like to lay on various sciences we teach is so that طلاب العلم can excel and work on their own after that, if needed. And I said this method can easily be explained in a one-day seminar, but I don't think that's the proper route to go. Now, seeking the aid of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, let's start with the book.